Hey guys, Mike Person here. This is a follow-up video to how to rig your 2D character in Unity, and if you haven't seen that, you should check that out. In today's video, we're going to animate that 2D rig character, so let's jump in. As you can see, we've got our character here in kind of a default pose, and if I click on our character, you'll see all of the bones that we rigged up in the previous video. Now the first thing that you're going to need if you want to animate the character is an Animator Component. Now there's multiple ways to do that. The way we're going to do it is with the animation window, and if you don't have that open, it's under Window, Animation, Animation. So we click on Animation with our character selected, and I'm going to click Create. It's going to prompt us to save our animation name. I've already got an animations folder. I'm going to call this one Idle. As you can see, we now have an animator component with the character controller. Now back in the animation window, with our character selected, I'm going to click on record. I'm going to move the playhead 30 frames in, and we're going to rotate this bone just a little bit. And you can see I now have two keyframes. I have one at the beginning and one where we're currently at. I'm going to now highlight the first keyframe, move the playhead to roughly 60 frames, paste, click off record, and hit play. And you can see we have an animation. Now, I'm not happy with that animation, so I'm going to tweak that here. Okay, I think that's a decent organic-ish looking pose. Now that we're satisfied with that animation, we're going to go under Window, Animation, and Animator. And I emphasize Animator because I think I have a speech impediment. But at any rate, I've got it already open here. So we're going to click on this window, and you can see all of the animations that you currently have in play. And currently, we only have the idle. The next thing I want to do is I want to be able to transition between this to a strumming animation when I click the mouse button. Now, there are a few things we need to do in the animator window, but before we do that, we need to create our secondary animation. So we'll go back to our animation, click on the idle here, and we're going to create a brand new clip. And again, we're going to go under animations, and I'm going to call this one simply Strum. In our strum animation, I'm going to go back to our character, go to our scene, and I'll fast forward this part. Okay, so this may have gone in a slightly different direction than I was anticipating, but for the purpose of showing the multiple animations, I'm just going to roll with this for right now. Okay, so I need to stop the recording of that first before I goof anything else up. Okay, so right now I've got our idle animation to start from, and we need to transition to this. So all we do is we just simply right-click, make transition, and we drag it over to the strum. And we need a means of transitioning between the two. So I'm going to, up here under parameters, sometimes you start with the layers, you want to go to parameters, click the plus. I'm going to hit trigger. And I'm going to call this, I'll just call it strum trigger. Now you click on the actual transition here, and we need to go to the conditions, and we need to add. And by default, I only have the one trigger, so it's going to populate with that. So I'm going to have, we've got a couple of things over here you can see. Has exit time. We don't want that. We don't want it. What that means is that the previous state will have to finish its animation before we can enter into this one. We don't care about the idle. We want to be able to cut off the idle. Fixed duration we don't have, and for this case, I'm going to keep the transition duration as 0. So it's just going to immediately, once you click, it's going to go into this. Now, on the other hand, I need to be able to transition back from strum back into idle. So again, I'm going to right click, make transition, drag back, and now I need a means of getting back to idle. So I'm going to click on this transition, and this one will have an exit time. And the exit time I'm going to have is 1. So it's going to be finish its complete animation. And then for the transition again, I'm just going to have it go jump immediately with no transition, just back from one to the other one. Now, in order to call the strum trigger, we have to do that through code. So I've created a simple script here, just a simple player script. Right now it's empty, and we're going to jump into that right now. So the first thing we're going to need is access to our animator. So we'll set that up here. And we need to access the component. And I'm not sure why IntelliSense isn't working for me right now, but that's all right. I'm going to just set up my own animation method here. We're going to say, call it strum animation. And we'll call our animator. Okay, now you have options to set as a bool, trigger, int, and also I believe a float for whatever you want to set your animation. We set it as a trigger, and it's important we have to specify that verbatim, exactly as however we've created it. So we go back into here, we can see it's spelled this way. You should always really copy it and paste it in here, just so that you make sure it's right. And now I'm going to call that with the mouse click. Okay. And now we should be ready to play. So by default, we see him just bouncing here. And if I click down, it does nothing. And I believe I just pulled a rookie mistake by not adding my player script, which I seem to do to myself quite a bit. So we're going to try that one more time. Now we have our player script on there. I'm going to hit play. And you can see here's this idle. You can see it up here as well in the animator. And if I click the mouse this time, and there we have it, a very less than rewarding strum animation. If I just move this camera for a second here over, let's just, there we go. Okay, not so bad. I don't know why that seemed like it was going to be a lot better in my head than it obviously panned out. At any rate, if you guys enjoy this, please consider subscribing and liking, and I'll see you next time.